And welcome to a special road report of Cornette's commentary right here on Who's Slamming Who. This is Tommy Fierro, joined by JC himself, Mr. James E. Cornette, for Wednesday, June the 16th, 2010. And JC's on the road right now. What's up, Jimmy?
I'm actually on the road right now in the car, driving down the road, feeling hungry and cold for all you Leo Sayer fans out there. And Tommy, I want to warn everybody, adult language coming up. The fuck yous are coming. So before I get into the fuck yous, I just want to say the reason I'm on the road is because I'm headed up to Buffalo, of course, for Friday night Ring of Honor, and then Saturday Toronto, the big internet pay-per-view. If you're within the sound of my voice and you can get to Buffalo on a plane, a train, a bus, a car, a mule, anything, come to Buffalo on Friday. And then all the folks all across Canada on Saturday, Davey Richards and Tyler Black for the Ring of Honor World title, the Briscoes and the Kings of Wrestling for the tag team title, a rematch of the tag team match of the year so far in professional wrestling. Don't miss it if you can, and if you can't be there live, log on to GoFightLive.tv and order Death Before Dishonor 8 live on internet pay-per-view in the comfort of your own home or wherever the hell you keep your internet access. and you'll see the best professional wrestling matches you've seen this year. Now, if you're interested in sports entertainment, I can't help you, but I can recommend a good psychiatrist. But I want to get into this week's fuck yous before we go behind the mountain and I lose the signal, Tommy, because of course there's been some releases in the news lately, and I'm not even just talking about Bryan Danielson.
Hey,
I'm talking about in TNA. Hey yo.
Hey yo.
They didn't say hey yo. They said hey go. Say goodbye to our little friend. But I'm not going to put the boots to Scott Hall on this program, but it's indicative of a bigger problem in TNA, and that's what I want to talk about. Now, Tommy, let's say that you're Dixie Carter. Now, bear with me before you hang up on me. Let's just say you're Dixie Carter.
I'm sexier than she is.
Well, you are sexier than Dixie is because, she's got all the baggage with her and not all of it's under her eyes. Although she is so rich, the bags under her eyes are made out of alligator. But nevertheless, I digress.
Oh, God, here we go.
You're running a professional wrestling company, a professional wrestling promotion. Who would you rather have? And believe me, I'm not putting the boots to Scott Hall personally. Let's not even say it's Scott Hall. Let's just say you've got the choice of hiring a guy that's 50 years old, that hadn't had a good match in over 10 years, that has all kinds of personal issues, is constantly making the news for getting drunk in public, getting arrested, sometimes doesn't show up at all. If he does show up, sometimes he's in no condition to perform. He's noted for raping every promotion he works for the maximum amount of money, doing nothing for the people he works for or against in the ring, doing nothing but basically everything that people like that do to take advantage of the people they work for. Do you want to hire him? Do you want to have him as your tag team champion? Do you want to put him in a position of prominence just because he was a star years ago, and once upon a time he worked for a company that drew some money, possibly even through no fault of his own? Or do you want a guy like, let's say, Christopher Daniels, a great performer, a great human being, no bad habits, no personal issues, it's always a pleasure to be around, shows up on time, works as hard as he can, shows loyalty to the company that he works for, tries to help out his opponents and his partners, does everything right? You want to have a guy like that? Or maybe do you want to have a guy like Bubba the Love Sponge? Let's talk about him personally, who shits on the wrestling fans, who thinks that the wrestling business is beneath him, who's a mark, a buddy with Hulk Hogan, who spent the past 10 or 12 years trying to weasel his way onto every outlaw show in the state of Florida or everybody that runs there just because they think they can get some publicity off of him so that he can fulfill his fantasies of being a professional wrestler. If he was ever actually in a locker room, he'd be whistling Stranger in Paradise. Do you want to hire a guy like that? Or would you rather have a girl like Roxxi? A girl like Roxxi who's always been quiet and professional and shown up on time and done her work and shaved her head for the company and has got busted open hard way numerous times for very little money, and all she wanted was a chance to show what she could do. But that girl shows up for work on a pay-per-view for a job where she's been fired a couple of times before and brought back and thought she worked there, and she shows up on pay-per-view day right before her match and finds out it's a loser-leave town match, and oh, by the way, you're fired. What would you rather do, Tommy? I'll tell you what you'd rather do. You'd rather employ the people who are decent and who are a credit to the profession and who want to help you build a company instead of tear it down for their own selfish means.
Absolutely.
But TNA has a habit of not listening to people who want their best interests at heart, of not employing people or keeping people employed who have their best interests at heart, because Dixie Carter is a mark. Dixie Carter is a mark for the idiots that she's allowed to run the company, Vince Russo, Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff, for some reason, because they sold her a line of goods. I believe they call it being played, the young folks do these days. So she's a mark, so she wants the big names that cost big money that give her nothing in return. But Roxxi and Christopher Daniels and people like that are the ones who get punished over this, they're professional, they're young people, they still want a great future in professional wrestling, so they don't say anything. They just take the shit in their face and they go on because that's the way they are, because they're decent people. So on behalf of Roxxi, who won't say it, on behalf of Christopher Daniels, who won't say it, on behalf of the other people that TNA has mistreated and won't say it, I would like to say a personal fuck you, Dixie Carter, you fucking twat. Fuck TNA, fuck Dean Broadhead, fuck everybody that made these decisions. Fuck you, that's from Jim Cornette, for Roxxi and Chris Daniels and all these other folks on their behalf, because they're too kind and too nice to say it. But you know what? I'd like to blame the pervasive influence of TNA and Dixie Carter and all of her father's millions, but I think it's just a cell phone service in Wilmington, Ohio.
Ohio.
I was going to actually go to another fuck you of the week, because, of course, there's been another release that everybody's been talking about, Bryan Danielson. Now, once again, folks, here's a company that has employed every kind of scrunge in the world. The WWE, Vince McMahon would hire Satan himself and give him a best knockout bonus if he thought he could make $1 off of it. As a matter of fact, Florence Henderson, by the way, is going to be an upcoming guest host of Raw. That's so I can't wait for that. I'm going to travel to that live. Here's a company who pays celebrities that have nothing to do with wrestling, that never watch wrestling, that think that wrestling is beneath them except when they got something to plug, and they pay them 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 10 times as much money as the guys that are out there beating their brains out every night to sell tickets for that company. And so now they finally get somebody that the wrestling fans, the professional wrestling fans, actually like and admire and appreciate. And Bryan Danielson, a guy who's paid his dues for 10 years, all across the country, all across the world in professional wrestling, that's excelled at his profession, that has no bad habits, that is a joy to be around, that everybody likes and everybody gets along with. It is a model employee. And because he performs a wrestling angle exactly as he should have, he gets fired because, and everybody's speculating, because either the toy company got mad or Linda Senate campaign got mad. Actually, I don't think that's it, because I think that, to be honest, Linda Senate campaign is ignoring professional wrestling completely. Or maybe some of the TV executives got mad, or Vince got his panties in a wad, or whatever. I don't care whether they had to let him go, but they didn't want to, or they didn't care. I don't care what the explanation is. It's a professional wrestling promotion. And once again, all the guest hosts can come in and shit on the product and look down their noses at the boys and do whatever the fuck they want. But as soon as they get somebody that does what they're supposed to do, that does what they've been told to do, that shows up and is ready to go and ready to get over and sell some tickets in the professional wrestling business, which they're still in, even though they deny it, they fire him for the stupidest reason I've ever heard in my life. Because Bryan Danielson is so polite and so nice and so professional, and is a young man who wants to have a glorious career in wrestling, he won't say anything. So on his behalf, I'd like to say this to you. Fuck you, Vince. Fuck you, Stephanie. Fuck you, Laurinaitis. Oh, double fuck you, Laurinaitis, you lying sack of shit. Fuck anybody that had anything to do with this explanation or this decision or whatever the fuck, because you know what? You're a bunch of fucking morons. You think that you're going to win Emmys as big-time television producers one day in the wrestling business. You're ashamed to be involved in it. You think you're an action-adventure series. You think you're a publicly traded company. You're a wrestling promotion that got lucky and was in the right place at the right time and perpetrated a stock scam to enrich your family's pockets and the pockets of people like Kevin Dunn, who hate wrestling also, and the inner circle at the expense of anybody stupid enough to buy a share of stock in a work business in a company that is owned primarily by a megalomaniac. So, fuck you, WWE, because Bryan Danielson won't say it.